Ну что можешь сказать по итогам?
А возвращаться я не хочу.
Ну скажи спасибо хлопцам.
Это от души, братки, что помогли выйти, выкарабкаться оттуда. И своего забрали на. Я чем мог, тем помог. С собой его постоянно передвигал. Я благодарен за спасение.
Ты сам откуда вам?
Я со Ставропольского края, город Минеральные воды.
Фамилия, имя, отчество, воинская часть.
Синичоков Александр Борисович. Воинская часть 29-29-7, 10-08.
Где воевал? Где тебя в плен взяли?
Ну, на позициях где-то в районе дачи, там какие-то дачи, вот на дачах. Вот. Я был с раненым, присматривал за раненым. Мои же бросили. Я присматривал за раненым. И потом уже, понимая того, что не будет никакой помощи, ничего, я его попросил выйти на своих, чтобы кто-то хоть что-то нам помог выйти. И вот он вышел на своих, и вон и хлопцы вот все помогли нам оттуда выбраться.
Угу. Украинцы, да?
Да.
Понятно. Хорошо. Что ты хочешь сказать украинцам, нашим пацанам?
Вашим пацанам, бля, удачи, терпения, бля, чтобы все живы были, здравы.
Хорошо. Давай.
Wounded Ukrainian soldier forces, Russian surrender.
It sounds completely impossible, doesn't it? But that is exactly what the reports coming in today, Sunday, February 01, 2026, are confirming.
Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. I'm Alex.
I'm Aria.
Join us in the latest deep dive by Defense Report for a sharp, no-nonsense breakdown of the latest in global defense news, military technology, and strategic developments. And today,
Wow.
Today we're going to cover a story that feels like it was ripped straight out of a movie script.
It really does. I mean, we're looking at this singular incident that just broke today, Ukrainian soldier with the call sign Positav, but we're also going to widen the lens.
Right.
Because this isn't just one soldier's bravery, it's a symptom of a massive systemic collapse on the other side.
Exactly. The headlines are all focused on this one act, and it is incredible. But for this deep dive, our mission is to connect that to the huge stack of data we've got. We are analyzing a spike in Russian surrenders that has now topped 10,000 POWs.
10,000?
We are going to unpack how a drone operator became a kind of digital shepherd for a terrified Russian soldier holding a cardboard sign.
And why mercenaries from, of all places, Cuba and Nepal are showing up in Ukrainian POW camps.
We're also going to look at the incredible story of a Russian commander left to die by his own men, only to be saved by the Ukrainians he was fighting just moments before.
It just begs so many questions. How does a drone communicate empathy? And why are soldiers from the Himalayas freezing in Donetsk trenches?
So let's start with the breaking news. The story from TSN journalist Andriy Saplienko. The protagonist is a Ukrainian soldier, Volodymyr, call sign Positive.
Right, and he's in the Donetsk region, which is, the absolute hottest part of the front right now.
And usually the story ends there. The soldier gets wounded, cut off, captured. It's game over.
But Positive didn't. He didn't accept that role. Despite being injured, he started engaging his captors psychologically.
This is the part that just blows my mind. He's the one bleeding, he's the prisoner, and yet he somehow persuades the Russian troops that their situation is the hopeless one.
Yeah.
He convinced them that surrender was their only shot at survival. And he didn't just talk them into it, he marched them back to Ukrainian lines. He commandeered an enemy squad.
It's a perfect example of what military analysts call moral asymmetry. I mean, you have to ask yourself, how fragile must your chain of command be?
Right.
If a wounded enemy prisoner holds more authority than your own officers, they probably saw him as a more stable, more trustworthy figure than their own commanders.
It's like he exerted a kind of psychological dominance just by being calm.
Precisely. It's all about the will to fight. When you're terrified, you feel abandoned, and some rational person offers you a clear path to safety. The uniform suddenly matters a lot less.
And as unique as this is, it's not an isolated case. It's part of this massive trend we're seeing. The latest data from the end of 2025 shows Ukraine has captured over 10,000 Russian soldiers.
That's right. And the trend lines are what's really important here. 2025 saw the highest figures yet. We're seeing an average of, 60 to 90 soldiers surrendering every single week?
Every week.
And there was a peak back in August 2024 of 350 surrenders in just 1 week.
350. That's basically a battalion just dissolving.
It is, yeah. But to really get the picture, you have to look at who is surrendering. The demographics tell a story of a completely disjointed force.
So who are they? Not the elite Spetsnaz units we heard about at the start of the war.
Oh, far from it. 83% are just rank-and-file soldiers. And get this, 76% are so-called contract soldiers.
Aye.
And we need to pause on that term.
Right, because when we hear contractor in the West, we think of highly trained specialists.
Exactly. But in Russia now, contract soldier often just means someone coerced by debt or recruited from prison. They're offered a massive signing bonus to just sign on the dotted line.
So they're trying to pay off loans or get out of jail, not fighting for a cause.
Correct. About a quarter of the POWs we have data on said they were explicitly coerced or misled. And the most surprising part now is the foreign element. About 7% are mercenaries from 40 different countries.
40. I saw reports on Cuba and Nepal, but
Cuba, Nepal, Somalia, Sierra Leone, the list goes on. We're seeing 2 or 3 new foreign fighters show up in POW camps every week.
think about what that does to a unit in a trench. The guy next to you speaks only Spanish.
It completely destroys cohesion. There's no shared language, no shared culture, and definitely no ideological attachment to the war. The second things get tough, they just surrender.
It really isn't a unified army anymore. It's a patchwork.
Yep.
And I read something about their health conditions, too.
Yes, hundreds of them have chronic conditions. HIV, tuberculosis, diabetes. It suggests they're just scraping the bottom of the barrel.
So not shock troops, just people tricked into a meat grinder, which makes perfect sense why someone like Positive could talk them down.
And Ukraine knows this. That's why they've practically industrialized the process of surrender.
Which brings us to the I Want to Live project, the government hotline and chatbot.
Correct. The Hochuzit project. It's a system for Russian soldiers or their families to arrange a safe surrender. But it's gone a step further now with technologically enabled surrender.
That's the story from Lemon, right? December 31st. The imagery from this one is just haunting. A Russian soldier spotted by the Phoenix drone team.
And you have to remember the visual detail. He wasn't fighting. He was holding up a piece of handwritten cardboard.
Please take me prisoner. I want to live.
I mean, can you imagine? You're in a freezing trench, a drone is buzzing overhead, which usually means death is coming, and your last hope is a piece of cardboard.
But it worked. The drone became a digital shepherd.
A fascinating term. The drone pilot didn't drop a bomb. They dipped the drone's nose to acknowledge him and then literally guided him turn by turn through the minefields to the Ukrainian position.
It's amazing. It solves that huge problem in warfare, the fake surrender.
Exactly. It prevents perfidy, which is a specific war crime where you feign surrender to lure your enemy in. We saw that in the Makivka incident back in 22.
So the drone creates a buffer zone.
It removes the ambiguity. Ukraine keeps its soldiers safe, and the Russian soldier gets a clear path out. It's using technology to uphold humanitarian law, which is such a stark contrast.
A huge contrast.
Yeah.
Because the alternative for these soldiers is often just abandonment by their own side.
Which brings us to that story from New York, the town in Donetsk, the grain elevator siege.
Right, 8 Ukrainian stormtroopers taking on 16 Russians dug into this massive structure.
And the Russian commander there, Vladimir Gribov, his story is just tragic. He was wounded, lost his leg, and his superiors just left him.
He said they promised help was coming for a day and a half.
Hold on, help is coming, but it never did. He was left to bleed out. And the people who saved his life, the Ukrainians he was trying to kill.
The report says the Ukrainian soldier, Black, gave him water and a cigarette, then first aid.
Think about the psychology of that. Your own side leaves you to die, and the enemy patches you up. It completely shatters your worldview.
And there was a similar thing near Pokrovsk with the Special Operations Forces. This one had loudspeakers on drones.
Yes. They spent days trying to talk a group of Russians into surrendering. The Russians refused. So the SOF rigged the building with explosives and blew it up.
And that would seem to be the end of it.
You'd think so. But after the explosion, the survivors started waving a white cloth. And even after all that, the Ukrainians went in, gave first aid, and evacuated them.
So, why? Why go to such lengths?
Because it reinforces the message. Russian soldiers know about the meat grinder. They know about the blocking units.
The troops behind the line who are there to shoot retreaters.
Right, so you're caught. A Ukrainian drone in front of you, a Russian execution squad behind you. It's a classic rock in a hard place.
But Ukraine changes the math.
They do. They prove you're safer in their captivity than on your own front line. They're offering a future I want to live. Russia is offering almost certain death.
But we have to talk about the darker side of this, because the way Russia treats Ukrainian POWs is horrifying.
It's a somber note, but it's essential context. While Ukraine builds systems like I Want to Live, we have multiple reports from the 110th Brigade near Robotyne of surrendering Ukrainian soldiers just being executed.
And that's not even counting the black register of war crimes.
No. The torture chambers, the starvation, the executions of civilians in places like Bucha and Kherson, it's systemic, and you see this in the prisoner exchanges, too.
Russia refuses all-for-all exchanges, right?
Yeah.
Why would they do that?
It's a cynical calculus. They prioritize returning ethnic Russians and elite units, like pilots, the conscripts, the ethnic minorities, the mercenaries from Cuba. They're disposable. They're left to rot.
That is just deeply cynical.
It is. And when exchanges happen, the condition of the soldiers tells the whole story. Ukraine follows the Geneva Conventions. Russian POWs look relatively healthy.
But when Ukrainian heroes, like Arseny Fedosiuk from Azov, return,
They look like skeletons. They show clear, undeniable signs of starvation and torture. The physical difference between a returned Russian and a returned Ukrainian is the most damning evidence there is.
it really brings it all back to where we started, with Positev, a wounded man who talked his captors into giving up. And when you look at all this, the lack of support, the foreign mercenaries, the brutal discipline, you understand why his words worked.
The battlefield is never just about territory. It's about morale. Ukraine is winning the psychological war because they offer a concept of humanity. They offer a future. The invader offers only abandonment.
That's a powerful way to put it. The I Want to Live project isn't just a hotline, it's a weapon. It's a strategy that's dismantling the enemy from the inside out.
And this raises a final important question for you to think about. We need to ask ourselves, if a single wounded Ukrainian prisoner can command more authority than a Russian officer, has the Russian military structure already collapsed from the inside? Or are we just looking at a hollow shell held together only by fear?
That is definitely something to think about. If that fear finally breaks, the whole thing might just crumble. You've been listening to Defense Report by Alex Anaria, where we analyze the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry.
Thank you for listening.
Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. We'll catch you next time.
Ну что можешь сказать по итогу?
А возвращаться я не хочу.
Ну скажи спасибо хлопцам.
Это от души, братки, что помогли выйти, выкарабкаться оттуда. И своего забрали на. Я чем мог, тем помог. С собой его постоянно передвигал. Я благодарен за спасение.
Ты сам откуда вам?
Я со Ставропольского края, город Минеральные воды.
Фамилия, имя, отчество, воинская часть.
Синичоков Александр Борисович. Воинская часть 29-29-7, 10-08.
Где воевал? Где тебя в плен взяли?
Ну, на позициях где-то в районе дачи, там какие-то дачи, вот на дачах. Вот. Я был с раненым, присматривал за раненым. Мои же бросили. Я присматривал за раненым. И потом уже, понимая того, что не будет никакой помощи, ничего, я его попросил выйти на своих, чтобы кто-то хоть что-то нам помог выйти. И вот он вышел на своих, и вон и хлопцы вот все помогли нам оттуда выбраться.
Угу. Украинцы, да?
Да.
Понятно. Хорошо. Что ты хочешь сказать украинцам, нашим пацанам?
Вашим пацанам, бля, удачи, терпения, бля, чтобы все живы были, здравы.
Хорошо. Давай.